This lecture is in continuation to our previous video lecture where we were studying about stereoisomerism, right? Where we looked into details of geometrical isomerism, right? So while studying geometrical isomerism, we were doing the properties of cis-trans isomers, right? And one of the properties is that trans isomer are stable than cis isomers, right? Now we'll be looking into the reasons, and we'll also look into cis and anti isomers, right? I introduced you to this type of isomerism in the previous lecture, right? So cis isomer, your trans isomer is stable compared to cis isomer. Right? Now we'll introduce a term, steric repulsion or steric strain. We also call it as van der Waals strain, right? To understand the stability of cis and trans isomer, right? There is something known as steric repulsion. Steric repulsion means repulsion between atoms in space, right? Repulsion between atoms or groups in space, and we know that from chemical bonding that repulsive forces give rise to destability. Repulsive forces makes a molecule unstable, right? Similarly, if we look at cis trans isomer, I said that the trans isomer is stable compared to cis isomer, obviously, because if we look it from steric repulsion point, in the cis isomer the similar molecules are on the same side of the double bond, right? Like we have studied in the previous lecture, right? So if we have two bigger molecules, right, or two bigger groups or atoms, if they are on the same side, right, when they are on the same side, they are bigger, then they come close to one another, right? To what we call to this term as when they come close to one another, this is called as steric crowding, right? Due to steric crowding, there is more repulsive forces, right? Repulsive forces increases, that makes the molecule destable, right? That destabilize the molecule or makes the molecule unstable. Steric repulsion is repulsion between atoms or groups in space. Let's take example of cis-2-butene. In case you have any doubts on what is a geometrical isomerism or anything about geometrical isomerism, we have done that in previous lecture, so you need to look that lecture before you jump to this one, right? And the other one we have is the trans CH3H HCH3, right? Here this is cis-2-butene, cis-but 2-ene, this is your trans 2-ene, right? This is cis because we have similar groups, right, methyl groups on the same side of the carbon-carbon double bond. Here the similar groups are on the opposite side. So this is trans, this is cis, right? And cis, this form is stable as compared to cis form, right? So in the cis form you can see that these two groups, these methyl groups, are on the same side of the carbon double bond, right? Due to this, what we have is steric crowding, because these are bigger groups, right? So when they come close to one another, when they are on the same side of the carbon-carbon double bond, they come close to one another, right? Doing steric crowding, right? So due to steric crowding, repulsive forces increases, repulsion increases, right? And this repulsion will result into making this molecule less stable. It will make the molecule less stable, right? I hope this is clear. So due to steric strain or steric crowding, right, you have the repulsive forces increases between the groups which are on the same side of the carbon-carbon double bond, right, and that makes the molecule unstable. If you look at trans butene, you can see here you have a smaller group, here you have a bigger group, right? So steric crowding is less compared to cis form, right? In trans form, this is your cis, steric crowding is less, right? Due to which repulsive forces are less compared to cis form, right? Since repulsive forces are less in trans isomer compared to cis isomer, you have more stability in trans form, or trans form is more stable compared to cis form, right? Cis isomer. I hope this is clear, right? So if you want to define steric repulsion or steric strain, steric strain is when two atoms, right, or groups of atoms in an organic molecules are at a distance less than or equal to the sum of the van der Waals radii. They repel each other. What is a van der Waals radii? Van der Waals radii, you must have done this in periodic table, right? Periodic properties. Van der Waals radii is, we know that when a molecule is formed, two atoms come close to one another, right? In this case, when two atoms come close to one another, there is something known as distance of closest approach. Suppose this is the distance of closest approach between these two groups, right? So it's kind of the distance. Van der Waals radii is, this is suppose the midpoint, this is your closest approach, right? This is your closest approach, and this is your van der Waals radii, right? This is your, from here to here, this is your van der Waals radii, right? If you, it's kind of, if you draw a circle here, right, this is your van der Waals radii, right? And this is your distance of closest approach. So when two atoms, if they try to come more close to one another than this distance, then they will repel one another, right? So when two atoms, right, are equal to or less than, are at a distance, when two atoms are at a distance which is less than or equal to the van der Waals radii, right, this is your, then they will undergo steric repulsion, right, or what we have is a steric crowding, right? For example, for hydrogen atom, the distance of closest approach, this is the distance of closest approach, is 2.4 angstrom, right? So their van der Waals radii would be 2.4 divided by 2, which would be 1.2 angstrom. This is the van der Waals radii, right? So when any two atoms or group are at a distance less than or equal to the van der Waals radii, what they will form, what they will suffer is from steric repulsion, right? And when you have steric repulsion, what you have is instability in the molecule. Steric repulsion or steric crowding will introduce instability in an organic molecule. That's what we mean, right? In cis form, we have high steric crowding, due to which repulsive forces are more, which will make the molecule unstable, right? I hope this is clear. Now let's look at what is cis and syn and anti, syn and anti isomer. Now this geometrical isomerism is not limited to compounds that have carbon-carbon double bond. We can have geometrical isomerism in compounds that have carbon-nitrogen double bond and nitrogen-nitrogen double bond, right? So let's see the compounds that have double bond between carbon and nitrogen, and between nitrogen and nitrogen, right? So the compounds, we have aldoxymes and ketoxymes. Aldoxymes are formed when aldehydes react with hydroxylamine, and ketoxymes are formed when ketones react with hydroxylamine, right? And such compounds are isomer. Such compounds can have isomers, right? Let's look into it. You have one lone pair. Right? This is the lone pair. When in aldoxymes and ketoxymes, right, you have H and OH on the same side, right? Like in cis isomer, we have similar groups on the same side of the double bond. Here we have in aldoxymes and ketoxymes, we have hydrogen and oxygen on the same side of the double bond, right? This is your syn isomer, right? Like we have cis isomer. If hydrogen and oxygen are on the opposite side, what we have is a anti isomer, right? Like trans isomers. Here you have, this is your nitrogen. Here you have OH. So here you have OH and H on the opposite side of the double bond, right? Carbon nitrogen double bond. This is your anti isomer, right? So based on the position of hydrogen and hydroxyl in aldoxymes and ketoxymes, we have syn and anti isomers, right? Now the physical and chemical properties would again be different, right? The melting point of syn isomer in this case is 308 kelvins, while that of trans is 403 Kelvin. Melting point is 403 Kelvin. Here melting point is 308 Kelvin, right? Physical properties are different, right? Now the other type of compounds where we can have geometrical isomerism is azo compounds. Azo means nitrogen, right? You have nitrogen double bond in azo compounds, right? So we have here C6H5 nitrogen, right? This is your azo compound, right? This is your azobenzene, right? It contains nitrogen double bond and shows geometrical isomerism. Its cis and anti form can be represented easily. This is your lone pair. Its anti form would be where one benzyl group is here and the other benzyl group is here. You have similar groups in the opposite side, right? So whenever you have similar groups on the other side, what you have is, like here, This is your anti form, anti-isomer, right? And this is your syn isomer, right? Here you have C6H5 on the same side, here you have C6H5 on the opposite side. I'm sorry, this is your lone pair, right? You have it on opposite side. So this is your syn anti-isomer, which is same as your cis trans isomers, right? Cis trans isomerism, right? And is due to double bond between nitrogen and carbon, right? And we know that due to this double bond, what do you have in the double bond that makes these isomers stable? You have a pi bond, right? Like this, you have a pi bond, like we did in, you have AB, right? And it is this pi bond that introduces restricted rotation around carbon-carbon double bond, right? If you rotate this pi bond, if you rotate the carbon-carbon double bond, right, then it will lead to removal of, or it will lessen the overlap between p orbitals. So if the overlap between p orbital is reduced or removed, that means this bond will rupture or break. That means the molecule will no longer be stable. But since normally we need to give some energy, right, to rotate this. In order to rotate this molecule, you need to give it some energy, right? The energy required to break the pi bond, break this pi bond is, it's around some kilojoules, right? The amount of energy that you give to rotate, right, the breaking of pi bond involves absorption of energy, which is 251 kilojoules per mole, right? This much of energy you need to give to break this bond, right? So in order to rotate this bond, you need to have this much of energy, right? And this much of energy is not available normally. So that is why the rotation around carbon-carbon double bond is hindered, right? So since you cannot move the carbon-carbon double bond, what you have is, since you cannot move it, so the position of these atoms in space will remain fixed, right? Since these positions are fixed, so this gives rise to one type of molecule. And suppose now you have a different type of molecule where you have A below and B here. This is your trans isomer. In trans isomer also, again there is restricted rotation around carbon-carbon double bond due to the presence of this pi bond, because in order to break pi bond you need to give 251 kilojoules of energy, right, which is not normally available. So these isomers are stable under normal condition because this much energy is not normally available, right? I hope this is clear, right? So from the next video lecture we will start optical isomerism. Thanks.